Yes, Mr. Chairman, I can hear you.
Do you have that RS number that we were talking about earlier?
0795.
Representative Heiberger will be acting as ranking member today. That's what I was told yesterday. And if you would, before we start, would like for you to introduce yourself to the committee.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I am Jennifer Day, Representative Jennifer Day. I'm from South Overland Park, District 48, freshman member, and just really happy to be able to help this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Our ranking member is not here today. He had a fall. I talked to him yesterday, and he's fine. He doesn't have a concussion or anything, but it's, as he mentioned to me, he just doesn't heal up as fast, and he's pretty sore. So he will not be here today. But Lewis will be back on Monday. He has indicated that Representative Heiberger would be the ranking member today. Is Representative Heiberger on WebEx? Okay. Then we'll take just a moment to see if he arrives or gets on WebEx. First thing up, we're going to do bill introductions. Bill introductions from the committee. Seeing no bill introductions from committee, the chair has two. First one is 21 RS 0301. This is a sports book bill that was introduced last year. I'll give you a quick overview of it. It allows casinos to issue a number of apps for sports book. It also allows convenience stores who sell lottery tickets, should they choose to buy a license from the lottery, they would be able to do it. It also has special consideration to Sporting Kansas City, which is the only professional sports team in the state. And of course, all gaming must be owned and operated by the state of Kansas. I always like to remind the casinos of that they exist because the state allows them to. Without objection, it's admitted. Seeing no objections. Next bill is a alcohol bill. It's at the request of Scott Snyder, who's working with the reviser. That RS is 0795. Without objection, it will also be admitted. Heiberger, I've got you up here if that's okay, as the ranking member today. Bill introductions from the audience. Do we have bill introductions from the audience? Seeing none, bill introductions will be closed. Committee, we're going to be working one bill today, the bill we've previously heard. Give you some history on it. It was passed out last year. It was below the line on the floor. It was to be run I think 3 days later, but we, of course, as you all know, we had to leave early. In my opinion, it was not a controversial bill. In fact, I've talked with the Department of Ag. They came in as an opponent, but if you listen to their testimony, they were more neutral than they, based upon the questions, that they said they could do it and there would be no cost to the state. Now, for the freshmen and for the experienced legislature, we're going to take our time this morning. I want to walk through the process. We did go through this with the constitutional amendment, but we went fairly quickly. And I'll stop and tell you some of your options. You may have got this from your freshman class, but different chairs do it different ways. I like to think I do it the correct way. And you have some experienced legislators here if you're a freshman. I know Representative Carpenter knows the rules as well as I do, and several other members. So we'll just take our time, go through the process, so that in the future, when we're working bills, if you have an amendment or you have any other motions, we could take those up. I'll always start with identifying the bill, and I will ask, what is the pleasure of the committee? At that time, I will look for hands. And we're going to do that now. If you would take up House Bill 2056, what is the pleasure of the committee? Representative Heiberger?
Mr. Chair, before we get started, I just want to state for the record that you indicated that you were going to try to give us notice in the evening before if we were going to work a bill, and I would appreciate it if you would do that in the future.
I understand, and I did that yesterday. I announced it in committee that we would be working this bill today. Did I not, Connie?
Apologize for missing that.
I'm not saying I'm always going to do that, because you and I both know that on occasions we have openings of time, but I will try to always alert you the day before or 2 days before that I'm going to work a bill. Thank you. Go back to HB 2056, and just for the committee's understanding, we used to have the paperwork in front of us. This year we're going paperless. So when I ask about it, this is the bill concerning products reference Kansas Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, regulating the sale and distribution of Kratom products, amending KSA 65656, and repealing existing sections. As to this bill, what is the pleasure? Representative Epley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move that the committee move this bill out favorably for passage.
Thank you. Now, folks, I have a motion on the floor. I will look for a second. And I have a second from the ranking member, Representative Armberger. Now, at this juncture, I will announce discussion. You can ask questions, discuss. You can ask questions of the reviser. You can make motions. If you have an amendment, this would be the time that you would be identified to make an amendment. There's one thing I would mention, and we had this occur the other day when we were on the floor of the House. If we're on debate in the floor of the House and you have an amendment, turn it in to the clerk's office when you first get it. The other day, an individual wanted to offer an amendment. They had not turned it in, so it just takes time. So if you get it, you don't have to offer your amendment, you just need to turn it in, and then if you choose to offer it, then it's already up with the clerk's office. But that's another day. So I have a motion to pass out favorably. I have a second. Open up discussion from the committee. Yes, Representative Epley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So just for the new committee members and maybe some of the old committee members as a refresher, this is something that we have actually taken through Health and Human Services in the House in the past, and it's been part of our Kansas. It's been in Kansas for 3 years in Kratom. You may have seen Kratom signs up or Kratom products available, and it's been widely unregulated and unmonitored. And this was a bill that came to us as an opportunity to provide some of those sorry for the feedback, to provide guardrails, if you will, for this product.
Would you have both of them on, your computer and the microphone?
My computer's on.
Okay. May just be the mic.
Try this again. Okay. So, again, this has had no guardrails, and so this is a bill that we have looked to and worked with entities to provide those guardrails and provide more safety for Kansans going forward. And I think you all but heard that from the Department of Ag in their testimony. Their only issue is they did not want to be complicit with with a food substance that they weren't sure was safe for our Kansans, and that's already been vetted through Health and Human Services and felt to be safe enough when it's monitored appropriately. And so Department of Ag indicated they had the capacity. There was negligible monetary impact. There's funding available through the regulation process. And I think that this does provide safety for Kansans and provides appropriate regulation of a bill that we need to provide. So, I mean, this is what government's here for in cases such as this, to keep Kansans safe. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and I would tell the committee, I was on Health, I believe, with Representative Epley when they passed this out. When it came to the floor of the House, I voted against the Kratom bill. The reason I voted against it is because we were not regulating it. And I've worked for the last couple of years to get some type of regulation. I'm not saying the underlying bill was bad. It was just we passed it without any regulations. And I think anything that the public has the opportunity to consume needs some type of oversight. And the Department of Ag says that they can do that. Further discussion. Oh, Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be voting against it. I guess I sit here thinking, if we were to discuss this and say, well, we've got heroin and methamphetamine out there too, we might as well regulate it. I'm just not good with it. There's a lot of evidence coming down about this substance that shows that it should be a controlled substance on a schedule, and I can't go along with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I agree with your philosophy. With the heroin and stuff, but the testimony was given that this helps people get off that. As I said, initially I voted against it on the floor of the House because it was unregulated, and that this is an attempt. We have Kratom. Now we do need to regulate it, in my opinion. But with that, further discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I was reluctant on this bill last year. I understand Representative Smith's concerns, but right now, heroin and meth are illegal, and this stuff isn't. So even if heroin and meth were fully legal, I think we might want to regulate those too. I think this is a substance that probably deserves some regulation. I had some concerns about the Department of Ag's role. It sounds like their concerns are mostly resolved, so I will support the bill this year.
Thank you. Representative? Al?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just being a freshman legislator, wanted to see if anybody on the committee could provide some background as it pertains to why the Department of Agriculture would have authority rather than KDH&E, or there's some psychoactive compounds involved with Kratom. So just kind of wanting to know if you have any background to share. Thank you.
I would turn to Dr. Epley.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative, you raise a good concern and question, and getting some feedback again, but I'll do my best. This is a naturally occurring substance. It's called Microgena speciosa, and it is manufactured. And produced actually in Southeast Asia, and comes to us, and it does need regulation. Because it's a biological and it's a natural occurring substance, it does fall more in the realm of farming and farm-related products. And given the fact that we carefully vetted and reviewed this in Health and Human Services 3 years ago, feeling that it is not on the same level or par with opioids and other medications, we felt that the Department of Ag was best suited to probably monitor and regulate this going forward. There was concern about utilizing KDH&E, but after deliberations and discussion, it was felt that the Department of Ag was best suited to regulate this because it's a biological. It's not on any level of drug at this point, and until it's relegated to a designated status, it really doesn't fall in the realm of KDH&E, and that's why we thought we had to have some regulation, and we thought that that was best through the Department of Ag in Kansas. I hope that answers your question.
Was that helpful?
Yes, thank you very much. I did have a follow-up, if you would oblige me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Is Kratom, I didn't get into it when you had the hearing the other day, but is the product refined, processed, is it consumed in its natural form, or is it processed to, I guess, a different end product?
Dealing with my speaker. I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
Yes. Is Kratom primarily consumed in raw form, or is it processed?
My understanding that it is harvested and then it is processed in that it's ground up and it's made into certain levels of the microactive compound, and that's about as much processing as it is. Now, I'm not clear on how you get different levels, but I know there's 2 or 3 levels of the Kratom products that are sold in the state at this time. And I would not sit here today and tell you I know how those are processed, but there is definitely some processing that occurs. You can get it either in the raw product in a baggie, and you can get it also in a pill form. But it's basically the product that's in the bag that's in a capsule. And some people prefer to ingest it in the form of a capsule rather than in a ground-up substance in a bag.
Thank you. Representative Wagner.
This is a very interesting discussion. I vaguely remember the bill from a year ago, of course not being on this committee. My question is, I've been checking into the FDA's warning about Kratom, and I'm just wondering, do we have precedent where we have, supplements, whatever, that have an FDA warning that we somehow put into statute and provide some sort of provision? I mean, is that, a bit of an oddity? I mean, I'm seeing from this FDA reports that back in 2016, under the Obama administration, they had multiple seizures of Kratom as being a dangerous substance, that the U.S. Marshals did. And so I'm a little, genuinely kind of perplexed exactly what our track record on products with FDA warnings is.
And I'll respond. This was vetted in Health and Human Services, where we have I would say, the experts that came in. And this is not about whether we sell Kratom or not. It's already being sold in the state of Kansas because it passed by a large margin in the House and in the Senate, and it became law. What this bill does is give some type of regulation to it. Now, if you don't want Kratom, then you need to file a bill to outlaw it. But this is not about whether it's good or bad. This is whether or not we regulate it with the Department of Ag or we do not regulate it and let it go unregulated. I personally think it's better to regulate it than not. And it should in the future, the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration or the federal government comes in and intervenes, then we can possibly do something else. Further discussion? Yes, Representative Miller.
Just to follow up on that point, Mr. Chairman, I know Representative Ressman was looking for where he could get some, and a quick Google search showed that there are 18 places locally that you can acquire it legally.
Right. Most convenience stores or health food stores do sell it. That's my understanding, Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's kind of interesting that the questions you raised, because the concerns that you raised from 4 years ago were the reasons that the FDA was looking at it so closely, was because of tainted or other products in the kratom, and that's why we want it regulated in the state of Kansas. We don't want that type of product to end up in Kansas. And even after 4 years, there's still no FDA, there's no DEA designation or lineage of what this drug should be. So it is a naturally occurring biological substance that has no medication or drug level at this time. So that's why we think it's better to have some regulation, at least through our Department of Ag, than no regulation at all in the current situation, and that's what this bill does. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion? Smith.
So I mean, some of these things, I'm trying not to shake my head. You know, you can go out, I can say there's a rival number of places you could illegally purchase other drugs. It's not the availability that makes a drug okay. I mean, simple WebMD look on Kratom, they can give you some background on it. And I agree with the chairman. I understand it's not illegal, and if I want to make it illegal, I should. But I can't just go along and say, well, we'll regulate it because I can't fight it. At WebMD says that federal officials have said they're concerned that Kratom can be abused because its opioid-like effects. It's now illegal in 6 states and the District of Columbia. I mean, these are the kind of things that I think we should be concerned with when we're talking about this. I don't disagree that we should regulate it. I don't disagree with that idea. But I think there should be a stronger verbiage.
Thank you. Further discussion, Representative Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this product being taxed as food, or is there another, is it treated differently?
I cannot answer that. I'll look.
My understanding is it's taxed like anything is in a
Any natural substance that comes in. I understand with this bill, there will be a fee imposed on it by the Department of Ag to do their testing. And they indicated that yesterday when they said they can do that in-house with a licensing fee. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it sounds like this product doesn't necessarily have any nutritional value, but it's more of a use for medicinal purposes and things like that.
I think you're right. And if you want to make the summer argument on marijuana, we would have the same discussion, whether it's good or bad for you. The only thing that I would say is it's legal. It's a substance that is sold. I think this bill is good because it does impose some regulations on it. Further discussion? Seeing none? I'm sorry, who else? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very quickly, the regulation, I understand. What are the teeth in it? What we're trying to address are those that would be on the black market, I would imagine, hurting the citizenry. This is already legal. There are some who are cutting it with dangerous substances. And I guess my question is, for those who would still try to do the black market sales, does this bill address or give teeth?
It does through rules and regs that the Department of Ag will get through.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? I look back at this phase, folks. I would look back to the maker of the motion to renew his motion. If an amendment had been attached, then he would have to modify his motion to pass it out as amended. I'll look to Representative Epley to renew his motion. Pass up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. After this discussion, I just want to say this product already is in Kansas. We just want to provide regulation for it going forward. That's it. I think, you know, should ever the designation change, should it become a FDA drug that receives a DEA designation, I believe then at that point we can take that up and make it an illegal substance in the state. I mean, we can. But this is about a product that has none of those regulations at this point, none of those designations. And I think for all those reasons, I think we need to provide regulatory oversight through the Department of Agriculture in the state of Kansas. And so For all of those reasons outlined, I would like to move it out favorably for passage to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Since it was not amended, he has closed on his motion. I looked, who do I have on WebEx? What members? None? Okay, and that will make it simple. All in favor of the motion to pass out House Bill 2056 favorably, say aye. Those opposed, no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Passes out. You can have your vote recorded. Anyone else? Representative Howe? Sorry? Representative Howe? No, it looks like no. Representative Trevor, is that you? Is that I don't see that far. You, okay, no. Well, thank you so much. You have to stand up. You were kind of in that. Representative Burris is a no. Garver is a no. Wagner is a no. Thank you, folks. We've got those recorded. Committee, next week, you should have received a copy of the agenda. Monday, we're going to be here limiting the review of rules and regulations. This has been offered last year. It was also passed out last year by the chairman of the Rules and Regs Committee. And then we will take up Adrian's Law, which is a bill that we also passed out last year that, again, never got above the line because of the time restraints. On Tuesday, I think, is it Monday you're going to have a bill introduction? Yeah. Representative Hoyt will have a bill introduction on Monday. On Tuesday, increasing the minimum age on the cigarettes, as many of you may or may not know, that the federal government put some guidelines out last year and in one of their funding bills. So we're going to take that matter up, moving the smoking age from 18 to 21. And then, if you'll note that on Wednesday, we have two alcohol bills. These are alcohol bills that were passed out last year. In my estimation, they were not controversial. In fact, if you'll review the notes, I think they were passed out unanimously. We'll hear from those. Thursday is open. I will probably schedule a bill, one or two bills on next Thursday. I'm waiting for them to get read in. The bill that I introduced today, which is the sports book bill, it's another issue that you will get a lot of emails on. As I always joke, the casinos can hire 14 or 18 lobbyists to be lobbying you. I would just ask you to keep an open mind and think of your constituents. I know my former vice chair, Representative Arnkamp, pulled his hair out last year. I put him in charge of a subcommittee, and I think he got more out of it than he put in. It was a hard time. And so this is a very controversial issue. The Senate has a bill. The House will have a position. So I would suggest you can listen to the lobbyist, but wait for the evidence to be presented in the hearings. With that, that's what we're doing next week. I do not anticipate working next Friday. Normally, I try to work on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, because if we have pro forma, I'd like to get you out as soon as possible. It doesn't say we will not work on Friday. At the end of the session, it usually gets pretty busy, and we'll be working every day, and some days we may be working on Saturday. I've been in the chamber before on Sunday after church to get our work done. So with that, anything good for the committee? Seeing none, we are